Expo West 2025 is bringing new and exciting events to Anaheim this year. Check out these top 5 new things you don't want to miss out on. Kick off your Expo West experience at the Expo West Block Party. Join us for live music, amazing food, and a chance to connect with new faces and friends. Buyers, we're extending our buyers-only hours to give you an exclusive early peek at the show floor. Recharge and fuel up at the Newtopia Now Thrive Cafe pop-up in the New Hope Network Cafe. We're introducing 2 brand new pavilions for you to explore. Check out the Conscious Beauty Pavilion in Hall C and the Wellness Beverage Pavilion in Hall D. Join us at Community Brunch on Thursday morning, a free brunch open to all attendees and exhibitors. Head over to expowest.com for the full agenda. See you there.
What, the where, and the why of the dietary supplements industry, especially from a data perspective. That's what we do. What's selling from ingredient categories and individual ingredients? Where is it selling? That's our channel data. And why is it selling? Meaning, what conditions are motivating that purchase for consumers?
As you can see, right, this is about a $77.4 billion industry. In 2024 is what we're estimating it to be, and it's going to be adding about $33 billion between 2023 and 2027. So quite a significant amount.
Looking at the weight management category, I think that some of the promising ingredients would be what I would say is the fiber and prebiotic piece, just kind of addressing, the gut health side of weight management. In some of these different, products. But Rick, do you have any thoughts on ingredients?
Well, I think there's a different kind of attention being paid to this than was paid in the past. Before we had some, thermogenic stuff and some appetite suppressants that, of questionable efficacy. But I think, as I said before, the conversation moving it over to blood sugar was a big shift. And that is a place where there's, we have some science.
And then I'll end here with the last consumer piece, just showing, which formats that respondents are currently taking their dietary supplement products in. So tablet and capsule are going to be those top 2 formats. And then powder is third, which is interesting because in recent surveys that we've done last year, so in 2023, normally we saw gummy actually in front of powder, but now we're starting to see that shift of powder is actually going to be in front of gummy.
Do we know if organic matters to these consumers across categories and specifically outside of food and beverage?
Yeah, so within supplements also, it was still significantly higher than any other certification. So we did non-GMO as well, gluten-free, GMP certified, NSF certified, for those supplement-specific products, and organic was still just by far much higher.
Got a taste of freedom, and it feels so fine. There's no one
Expo West 2025 is bringing new and exciting events to Anaheim this year. Check out these top 5 new things you don't want to miss out on. Kick off your Expo West experience at the Expo West Block Party. Join us for live music, amazing food, and a chance to connect with new faces and friends. Buyers, we're extending our buyers-only hours to give you an exclusive early peek at the show floor. Recharge and fuel up at the Newtopia Now Thrive Cafe pop-up in the New Hope Network Cafe. We're introducing 2 brand new pavilions for you to explore. Check out the Conscious Beauty Pavilion in Hall C and the Wellness Beverage Pavilion in Hall D. Join us at Community Brunch on Thursday morning, a free brunch open to all attendees and exhibitors. Head over to expowest.com for the full agenda. See you there.
What, the where, and the why of the dietary supplements industry, especially from a data perspective. That's what we do. What's selling from ingredient categories and individual ingredients. Where is it selling? That's our channel data. And why is it selling? Meaning, what conditions are motivating that purchase for consumers?
As you can see, right, this is about a $77.4 billion industry. In 2024 is what we're estimating it to be, and it's going to be adding about 33 billion between 2023 and 2027. So quite a significant amount.
Looking at the weight management category, I think that some of the promising ingredients would be what I would say is the fiber and prebiotic piece, just kind of addressing, the gut health side of weight management. In some of these different, products. But Rick, do you have any thoughts on ingredients?
Well, I think there's a different kind of attention being paid to this than was paid in the past. Before we had some, thermogenic stuff and some appetite suppressants that, of questionable efficacy. But I think, as I said before, the conversation moving it over to blood sugar was a big shift. And that is a place where there's, we have some science.
And then I'll end here with the last consumer piece, just showing, which formats that respondents are currently taking their dietary supplement products in. So tablet and capsule are going to be those top 2 formats. And then powder is third, which is interesting because in recent surveys that we've done last year, so in 2023, normally we saw gummy actually in front of powder, but now we're starting to see that shift of powder is actually going to be in front of gummy.
Do we know if organic matters to these consumers across categories and specifically outside of food and beverage?
Yeah, so within supplements also, it was still significantly higher than any other certification. So we did non-GMO as well, gluten-free, GMP certified, NSF certified, for those supplement-specific products, and organic was still just by far much higher.
Got a taste of freedom, and it feels so fine. There's no one
Expo West 2025 is bringing new and exciting events to Anaheim this year. Check out these top 5 new things you don't want to miss out on. Kick off your Expo West experience at the Expo West Block Party. Join us for live music, amazing food, and a chance to connect with new faces and friends. Buyers, we're extending our buyers-only hours to give you an exclusive early peek at the show floor. Recharge and fuel up at the Newtopia Now Thrive Cafe pop-up in the New Hope Network Cafe. We're introducing 2 brand new pavilions for you to explore. Check out the Conscious Beauty Pavilion in Hall C and the Wellness Beverage Pavilion in Hall D. Join us at Community Brunch on Thursday morning, a free brunch open to all attendees and exhibitors. Head over to expowest.com for the full agenda. See you there.
What, the where, and the why of the dietary supplements industry, especially from a data perspective. That's what we do. What's selling from ingredient categories and individual ingredients. Where is it selling? That's our channel data. And why is it selling? Meaning, what conditions are motivating that purchase for consumers?
As you can see, right, this is about a $77.4 billion industry. In 2024 is what we're estimating it to be, and it's going to be adding about 33 billion between 2023 and 2027. So quite a significant amount.
Looking at the weight management category, I think that some of the promising ingredients would be what I would say is the fiber and prebiotic piece, just kind of addressing, the gut health side of weight management. In some of these different, products. But Rick, do you have any thoughts on ingredients?
Well, I think there's a different kind of attention being paid to this than was paid in the past. Before we had some, thermogenic stuff and some appetite suppressants that, of questionable efficacy. But I think, as I said before, the conversation moving it over to blood sugar was a big shift. And that is a place where there's, we have some science.
And then I'll end here with the last consumer piece, just showing, which formats that respondents are currently taking their dietary supplement products in. So tablet and capsule are going to be those top 2 formats. And then powder is third, which is interesting because in recent surveys that we've done last year, so in 2023, normally we saw gummy actually in front of powder, but now we're starting to see that shift of powder is actually going to be in front of gummy.
Do we know if organic matters to these consumers across categories and specifically outside of food and beverage?
Yeah, so within supplements also, it was still significantly higher than any other certification. So we did non-GMO as well, gluten-free, GMP certified, NSF certified, for those supplement specific products, and organic was still just by far much higher.
Got a taste of freedom and it feels so fine. There's no one
Expo West 2025 is bringing new and exciting events to Anaheim this year. Check out these top 5 new things you don't want to miss out on. Kick off your Expo West experience at the Expo West Block Party. Join us for live music, amazing food, and a chance to connect with new faces and friends. Buyers, we're extending our buyers-only hours to give you an exclusive early peek at the show floor. Recharge and fuel up at the Newtopia Now Thrive Cafe pop-up in the New Hope Network Cafe. We're introducing 2 brand new pavilions for you to explore. Check out the Conscious Beauty Pavilion in Hall C and the Wellness Beverage Pavilion in Hall D. Join us at Community Brunch on Thursday morning, a free brunch open to all attendees and exhibitors. Head over to expowest.com for the full agenda. See you there.
What, the where, and the why of the dietary supplements industry, especially from a data perspective. That's what we do. What's selling from ingredient categories and individual ingredients. Where is it selling? That's our channel data. And why is it selling? Meaning, what conditions are motivating that purchase for consumers?
As you can see, right, this is about a $77.4 billion industry. In 2024 is what we're estimating it to be, and it's going to be adding about 33 billion between 2023 and 2027. So quite a significant amount.
Looking at the weight management category, I think that some of the promising ingredients would be what I would say is the fiber and prebiotic piece, just kind of addressing, the gut health side of weight management. In some of these different, products. But Rick, do you have any thoughts on ingredients?
Well, I think there's a different kind of attention being paid to this than was paid in the past. Before we had some, thermogenic stuff and some appetite suppressants that, of questionable efficacy. But I think, as I said before, the conversation moving it over to blood sugar was a big shift. And that is a place where there's, we have some science.
And then I'll end here with the last consumer piece, just showing, which formats that respondents are currently taking their dietary supplement products in. So tablet and capsule are going to be those top 2 formats. And then powder is third, which is interesting because in recent surveys that we've done last year, so in 2023, normally we saw gummy actually in front of powder, but now we're starting to see that shift of powder is actually going to be in front of gummy.
Do we know if organic matters to these consumers across categories and specifically outside of food and beverage?
Yeah, so within supplements also, it was still significantly higher than any other certification. So we did non-GMO as well, gluten-free, GMP certified, NSF certified, for those supplement specific products, and organic was still just by far much higher.
Got a taste of freedom and it feels so fine. There's no one
West 2025 is bringing new and exciting events to Anaheim this year. Check out these top 5 new things you don't want to miss out on. Kick off your Expo West experience at the Expo West Block Party. Join us for live music, amazing food, and a chance to connect with new faces and friends. Buyers, we're extending our buyers-only hours to give you an exclusive early peek at the show floor. Recharge and fuel up at the Newtopia Now Thrive Cafe pop-up in the New Hope Network Cafe. We're introducing 2 brand new pavilions for you to explore. Check out the Conscious Beauty Pavilion in Hall C and the Wellness Beverage Pavilion in Hall D. Join us at Community Brunch on Thursday morning, a free brunch open to all attendees and exhibitors. Head over to expowest.com for the full agenda. See you there.
What, the where, and the why of the dietary supplements industry, especially from a data perspective. That's what we do. What's selling from ingredient categories and individual ingredients. Where is it selling? That's our channel data. And why is it selling? Meaning, what conditions are motivating that purchase for consumers?
As you can see, right, this is about a $77.4 billion industry. In 2024 is what we're estimating it to be, and it's going to be adding about 33 billion between 2023 and 2027. So quite a significant amount.
Looking at the weight management category, I think that some of the promising ingredients would be what I would say is the fiber and prebiotic piece, just kind of addressing, the gut health side of weight management. In some of these different, products. But Rick, do you have any thoughts on ingredients?
Well, I think there's a different kind of attention being paid to this than was paid in the past. Before we had some, thermogenic stuff and some appetite suppressants that, of questionable efficacy. But I think, as I said before, the conversation moving it over to blood sugar was a big shift. And that is a place where there's, we have some science.
And then I'll end here with the last consumer piece, just showing, which formats that respondents are currently taking their dietary supplement products in. So tablet and capsule are going to be those top 2 formats. And then powder is third, which is interesting because in recent surveys that we've done last year, so in 2023, normally we saw gummy actually in front of powder, but now we're starting to see that shift of powder is actually going to be in front of gummy.
Do we know if organic matters to these consumers across categories and specifically outside of food and beverage?
Yeah, so within supplements also, it was still significantly higher than any other certification. So we did non-GMO as well, gluten-free, GMP certified, NSF certified, for those supplement specific products, and organic was still just by far much higher.
Panel. Okay, connection through
Welcome.
vulnerability.
Welcome, everybody.
Okay, you're feeling power and controlling it and controlling your own.
We made it. We made it to Friday.
So I'm just thinking.
And now we get to celebrate together, which we are so happy to see all of you here this morning.
It's so good to see you, and yeah, I mean, what a week, right? So we were like, what's the one word? What's the one word? What's the one word? What's the one word that comes to mind when you think about the past 4 days? Overwhelming. Okay, yes. Ah, magical. What else? Connection. I love that. What else? Full. Oh, full and joyful. That's so amazing that you said joyful, because I was asked the other day what might surprise people about this show, and the first thing that came to mind was how joyful it is. It's a business event, and it's about advancing our businesses and doing more, better work in the world, but it's really so joyful, and that is an amazing thing. And I think the women in this industry really enable us to do that type of joyful work and do it together, and that is so fulfilling.
I can probably, I bet that's on.
I bet this one's on. We were just talking about something that we experienced earlier this week that we thought was a really nice representation and opening to today's meeting. We were at a dinner and we were presented with a bag of beads that was just our beads, and by the end of the night we were meant to connect with as many other women in the space as we could and trade beads. And by the end you end up with this beautiful bag of mixed beads from everyone that you've met on site at the show.
And then you wear that, it's going to be turned into a bracelet. You wear that bracelet and you take it with you. And when we got to the end of the week, we're like, okay, that is our expo experience. It's about coming in with certain ideas and views and objectives, and then leaving with so much more than that, and taking everyone's inspiration, ideas, conversation, and connection that comes from the week and carrying that with you. And so much of what we're going to talk about today is about that. How do we really honor and celebrate our individual stories? We're all so unique and our journeys are so unique, but as women, especially in this industry, we also feel that collective energy, and we're able to overcome challenges together, and we're also able to celebrate our collective wins.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, I'm looking out in this room, it's women and all of the allies. We're so happy to see everybody here. So yeah, we'll share some experiences, we'll get some new ideas, and hopefully we'll all grow this week and wrap out a wonderful event.
And we have a lot coming up, so we'll get to it, but I do want to mention that we were able to bring together hundreds of women at our Newtopia Now celebration of women in CPG, and so many of the conversations that we'll have today build on that. And so I want to just everyone to keep in mind that what we talk about today should not be a one-time conversation. These should be things that we come back to, and connections that we're able to nurture and grow throughout the year. And I also want to just celebrate the fact that this industry continues to push when it comes to advancing women, not just women in leadership roles, but products that serve and support women. And we're seeing so many great advancements in research around women's health and in funding for women-led and women-focused products. And those are some of the things that have been really exciting to me, both on and off the show floor. So with that, we want to introduce Laura Dickinson. Laura has been such an incredible advocate for work around equity, sustainability, social responsibility, and so much more, and has really driven some of these conversations into true action. So with that, let's introduce Laura Dickinson to the stage. Thank you all for being here.
Wow, this has been a very, very busy week. I think for many of you, how many of you have been here since Monday? Good job, me too. I'm actually Sunday, and so I want to honor that I'm tired and haven't slept, and also I've been looking forward to this all week, and it's just I'm getting a lot more energy back just being in this room. And this is actually really special. This is a kind of a culmination of a lot more than a week here, being in this room and seeing all of you. And this is I want to just share a little bit about the journey that brings us to this moment, and why this is actually a lot more meaningful, you being here, than you may even know. One Step Closer is the organization that I have the privilege to be a part of, and it started 13 years ago. And what we are is a community vessel for activated leadership and innovation. We have a lot of CEOs and very special companies that I feel like have deep heart and purpose in our industry that come together and look at not only how do we help each other grow our revenues and our profits, but also our purpose. And that brings us into a lot of special work that we bring to the industry. And part of that comes back to you. A lot of these, some of you may have seen these different projects, but it's really special to see when we get a room full of people together with aligned intentions, what magic can happen. And so these are some of the projects that we've launched, but what I want to highlight here is that when I started OSC around my dining room table, I didn't actually notice that it was me and 6 men who were all CEOs and wonderful men. And I wasn't minding that at all. I was having a lovely time. And at the same time, I realized I don't want to be the only. And it took a couple years to have a single woman come to the table for a number of reasons, that there's not always a lot of CEOs, and it also feels intimidating when there's just a lot of men in the room. But what I noticed is when the women started coming in, the real power started to come out in the organization, having that balance of perspective on both sides. And it was every single time you see one of these initiatives, it was a woman who stepped forward to say, I would like to launch that with you, Laura. And just with seeing the purpose and the meaning with packaging. If we're making great products, why are we making trash? Let's do something about this. It was a woman who had experienced seeing trash all over the Caribbean in the Peace Corps and wanted to address that. With Climate Collaborative, I was just with her all week. My co-founder, Jessica Rolfe, was stepped forward and said, my heart is breaking, as yours too. We need to address climate more than we are in this industry. And so that became the Climate Collaborative. And similarly, Cheryl Laughlin said, well, what about the biodiversity of our people, not just and what about women, and not just the environment? And that became the Jedi Collaborative. And you'll meet Angie Rossi and Betsy Frost, who then said, if we uplift women, that can make a difference. And that had been something on my mind since the beginning. Because when we launched the Climate Collaborative, what I learned is we were doing all this environmental stuff. And that felt really good, and we still do a really good job in this industry of environmental impact. But maybe you've seen Project Drawdown, who we worked with, and the single biggest solution to addressing climate change is education of girls and empowerment of women. And so it starts here. And what more powerful place than in food and natural products than to have women at the table making the decisions. And so that is a big part of the women's circles that you're going to learn a little bit more about. Because and I want to actually note what is so beautiful when you manifest something with women. I think I brought this up to Jenna and Jessica, gosh, we need to talk more about how we uplift women in this industry, and everybody was kind of hearing it, and it just feels very serendipitous that today in this room, this was the same room that we had Climate Day on Tuesday, and now today we are 7 years since launching it, having an uplifting women's session. So I feel like we're doing a service to much more than ourselves by being here, and I want to thank you for that. So I want to introduce our first speaker, who is an incredible woman that I've been able to get to know. And it's Arthi Shahani. And I've found that in getting to know her over the last couple months, and we just had a chance to meet live in person, have some coffee this morning. I don't know if you've experienced this, but she asks the kinds of questions and looks me in the eye in a way that I'm finding my truth and feeling seen and answering from a much deeper place. And that is true power. When someone sees you and brings you out and realizes your own potential and helps unlock that. And so I just want to appreciate that, and also that that's a big part of the purpose today. So Arthi Namdev Shahani is an award-winning NPR journalist, best-selling author, This is her book that I've been reading, and I recommend it highly. Here we are. And it came from, I think, some really special and heartbreaking experience that is very worth your reading. What I've found is that this book really is a big part of her journey of who she is, and it comes out in the work she does now, which is interviewing extraordinary leaders on NPR, such as former President Barack Obama, the CEOs of Microsoft, PepsiCo, the creator of Queer Eye, and many democracy activists, Oscar and Grammy Award winners, and even the judge who sentenced her father to prison, which is a big part of what this book is about, and an incredible story. Arthy's own journey is remarkable. She grew up an undocumented immigrant in Queens, New York. She graduated from Harvard on a full scholarship and became a national voice for millions of Americans from Silicon Valley. And now this book is going to be made into a feature film by Guy Raz, so I'm very excited. You either get a chance to read it or watch it at some point. And so I'm thrilled to introduce Arthy Namdev Shahani.
We can't do a proper bear hug because we're like mic'd up and trying to like not mess our hair and all that stuff. Hi everybody, how are you? Good morning. I'm so happy to see you here. I was worried, oh, this is the end of the conference. Maybe people partied hard. Who's gonna show up? And you're here. So thank you for that. It's a full house. It's wonderful to be here with you. I am hearing a little mic feedback, so if anyone needs to interrupt me at some point, please go ahead. I wanted to say I'm Carmen Sandiego, here to teach you travel hacks. Arthy. I want to tell you a bit of my life story in a way that hopefully is useful to your life story. Back when I was in high school, I came home from a date, and my whole family, minus my father, was huddled and looking very morose. I immediately thought, oh no, they found out that I have a boyfriend. I was not allowed to date. My dad was. Dad was a shopkeeper. He ran a wholesale electronics store in Manhattan. And that day, police raided his store, and they said that he was selling watches and calculators to the Kali drug cartel, a notorious criminal group that pushed drugs on kids, that murdered a journalist in a Queens diner, and that murdered a whole lot of other people, animals. My first order reaction, if you're really to peer into it, abject shame. I was a scholarship kid at the Brearley School for Girls on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Cost a Tesla a year to attend. My parents' classmates were fancy, educated people. I already felt I was not enough. I did not need my father to be a criminal. Back then, I wanted to be a prosecutor. Dad's case became my unexpected law school. His first hearing threw me for a loop. He was brought into court with co-defendants, presumed foot soldiers of the Kali cartel, who were cleaning their dirty money with my dad's shop, but he didn't know any of the guys seated next to him. Still, his defense attorney said, hey, take a guilty plea. They're offering you 6 months. You serve 6 months, you get the time done with, go back to your business, go back to your life. But if you exercise your right to trial and you lose, you could get 12 years inside. It's a trial penalty. Yes, we have a constitutional right, but if you use it, you're penalized. So my dad did what 99% of co-defendants do. He took the plea. And on the day he was supposed to return home to us, my father disappeared. He reappeared days later in an immigration detention facility to be permanently deported from the United States as a criminal alien. Deportation was a second surprise punishment. My reaction to the word deportation was visceral. Like,
an electric current. I was like an electric circuit on fire. America is my home. Yes, we used to be undocumented, but we got our papers. Everyone was either a green card holder or naturalized citizen. Who benefits from Dad being exiled? By this point, my inner prosecutor, the one who told me, you are nothing, you have to be more than your parents, she shut up. And my true self took over. I decided it was time to stop going to school to fight my father's case. And the fight was political. It wasn't in a courtroom. It was, I had to show ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that yes, legally you can deport Mr. Shahani, but there is an enormous universe of people who don't want to see that. And I documented how much noise his baby girl could make if they took Dad away. I even got a Republican member of Congress to support us. When you have a big, bold goal, it is a very good idea to give yourself a realistic timeline. I gave myself 1 year flat, 1 year to run circles around the federal bureaucracy and win. It ended up taking 12 years. I ended up fighting alongside and with thousands of other New Yorkers in the same situation. I became a community organizer. And my campaign for my father officially came to an end when he passed the citizenship test and took the oath of office. He was allowed to become a full American. He was the first of our family to set foot on American soil and the last one to cross the finish line. In that victory, a calm washed over me. My more than decade-long anxiety attack was finally over, and my father, who had been a stranger to me all these years, the chain smoker workaholic who had a problem with my skirt lengths, he actually became my best friend. Love grows on very strange runways. And once my bestie's safety was secure, I took off. My inner prosecutor changed her tune. She had a new fixation. Okay, Arthi, you pulled that one off, but are you smart? Do you have what it takes to be something outside of your family? I had the honor of going to Harvard University on a full scholarship. That opens a lot of doors. From there, I broke into NPR. I didn't grow up listening to national public radio. It was highbrow for my family. But now, I wanted to be one of its star voices. And I wanted to tackle a topic that had not defined my coming of age. I wanted to try something totally new, outside my comfort zone, to know, hey, do you have what it takes? So I chose the wild and wacky world of Silicon Valley. Epicenter of global power, 3,000 miles from home. When I arrived in San Francisco, I was detoxing from my previous life, in which, as an activist for my father and others, I felt like I always needed to have the answers. I was pushing for what was right. And I felt tense, like my fists were like this and they were tired, and I didn't know anymore what the answers were. And so I let my muscles relax, and I enjoyed simply asking questions, being curious. That is the job of a journalist. Now, curiosity does not mean deference, so let me give you an example. First thing many of you did this morning was open your Amazon app and shop. A decade ago, we weren't really exchanging that much money on the internet. It was a newer thing. And there was this platform called Kickstarter. An entrepreneur on Kickstarter had set out to raise $950,000 and ended up getting $8.5 million. Huge win. Damn, what a success. Buzzes everywhere. Look at all that money. But something did not make sense to me. So I called the entrepreneur to ask.
Would you have to give money back to your backers if you weren't able to deliver? Technically, from the Kickstarter perspective, I actually don't know the answer to that, but from a doing the right thing perspective, we will treat our backers, the best possible way.
And that's a Kickstarter policy question, I think.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
That's Ehrman's PR agent, Tiffany Spencer, saying it's a Kickstarter policy question. So I called Kickstarter founder Yancey Strickler. If Julie Ehrman is not able to deliver the consoles, then does Kickstarter get involved?
That would be new ground. I don't know. I don't think that we would. But certainly the kind of thing you're talking about is not a bridge that has been crossed yet. Someday it will. And, you know, I think if something did go awry, it wouldn't be my favorite day.
Wouldn't be my favorite day. Days after that interview, Kickstarter announced, in response to NPR's reporting, they are creating a brand new refund policy. 2 lessons from this is one of my first stories as a journalist. First, the power of shame. Some shame is good shame. It's the opposite of shameless. And hats off to the CEO. Once exposed, once asked the question in public, he didn't want to be shameless. He wanted to do the right thing. Second lesson is about intention. Did I tell the Kickstarter founder what I intended to ask before the interview? Not a chance, friends. If I had put in my email, I would like to ask you about a gaping hole in your policy, I would never have had an honest conversation. And so I invite you to ask yourself, when you're entering interactions where you need the truth, does sharing your intention open space or close space? Okay? Keep that in mind because you have the power to wield it. Often I share my intention painstakingly because I don't want to waste time. Have you ever listened to interviews where nothing is said? There's so much content in this world and you're like, okay, I feel like 2 people who just wanted to hear themselves talked, and I got nothing from it. I am committed to not doing that to folks. And so, in the spirit of genuine curiosity and genuine value add, I reached out to one of the most successful authors on planet Earth, Rosalind Weissman. She wrote Queen Bees and Wannabes, which got adopted by the Tina Fey into Mean Girls, a billion-dollar franchise. I told the best-selling author, hey, I want to talk about the ins and outs of your movie deal, the money. Creatives love to talk creativity. They don't like to talk money. Let's talk money. She agreed.
In my fantasy life, you're a multimillionaire riding horses. It's like,
that's not the case at all. The movie has made a tremendous amount of money, and I have received nothing, not a dime.
Not the answer I was expecting. A lesson in that, prepare, and then be prepared to throw out your script when life presents something more interesting. I happened to catch somebody who was boiling inside to tell her truth and looking for an opportunity to tell it. She sensed I would listen. Now, to find out how the great Tina Fey and SNL creator Lorne Michaels responded to what she had to say, listen to Art of Power, which you can find on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I shared my intention with President Barack Obama as well. He is an extraordinarily ambitious man, the first American president to call himself a feminist as well. Now, those two have never quite squared away with me, his ambition and his feminism, that he married a highly ambitious woman, and then he ran for Senate while she was raising 2 small children at home solo, pretty much. We talked about this. Now, I want you to have a listen and pay attention to the 2 questions I asked him.
No matter how enlightened the guy thinks he is, there's still a tilt in the direction of more burden falling on the woman.
And do you feel like that's a biological given, or is it because of a dynamic playing out?
No, I think it is in this. I think it's embedded in our social structures, in discrimination, in expectation, in the messages that we're sending in the media and in entertainment, and it's something that now, as a father of 2 daughters, I'm constantly warning them against and trying to ensure that they're not limited by.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you bring up your 2 daughters. Daughters make a man think a lot about the division of labor between men and women and where things fall. And I wondered, would you want your daughters to find a partner like you in terms of that division?
Well, I think that you're seeing an evolution that's more generational, right? Michelle and my relationship is different from what her parents' relationship was like. Malia and Sasha and a lot of their friends just automatically operate on the assumption that I'm not expecting to make more sacrifices than the guy or partner that I'm with, which is part of the reason why I think you're seeing this next generation marry later in life. If they marry too early, then it's natural to be more vulnerable to some of these social pressures and expectations that fall on women.
Does he want his daughters to marry a partner like him? I'm seeing a lot of no's, but he hedged it, right? This is a very seasoned person who's kind of heard it all, though he never really heard this one. And he's trying to answer it in a way that is deeply honest, but also politic, right? But it really blew my mind, this conversation. Two things I want to impart about it. One, turn your own assumptions into questions. I asked him, firstly, do you think it's a biological given? Do I think it's a biological given? No. I think most of this is social structure imposed on women by men and society, and by each other. But you don't really care what I think, you care what he thinks. So let it come out of his mouth. Another lesson, dig deep for questions whose answer may surprise you, and whose answer may surprise the person you're asking. When you're dealing with someone who's like the busy CEO at the office, really, I'm important, I got a lot of noise coming in, I've heard it all. How do you disarm that person? You ask them things that are incredibly common sense, but original. You could hear that he was thinking on his feet. Oh, okay, let me handle this one. And I will say that part of what was so meaningful for me about that interaction is I come from a very traditional patriarchal family. That interview went viral among my family across 3 continents. And they were like, wow, girl, child, big mouth being marriage liability, is talking to the alpha male of alpha males, and he's a feminist? It was beautiful. I felt the generational shift happening in that 2-minute window. By the way, you should listen to the episode Art of Power as well with Barack Obama. He dropped some amazing gems about creativity that will change your life. I want to conclude now with the single hardest interview of my life. It starts off sounding like an awkward first date.
Do you like chicken soup?
I do. I mentioned that funny thing that I don't eat carbs. Okay. So if there's noodles, I have to eat around the noodles.
Do you eat grapes?
Well, so I do wine, but not grapes.
Would you like some wine?
Only if you're having.
That was years ago. I now eat lots of carbs. I enjoy them. I highly recommend carbs. This interaction is with the judge who sentenced my father in the case that destroyed my father's life. Thanks to my NPR career, he would hear me on the radio, and we reconnected. He invited me into his private chambers and then his own home. By the way, this never happens to the children of defendants. This was a truly rare opportunity, but here we are. I showed up, not for any reason in particular, probably because I'm a glutton for awkward, and the more awkward, the better. I guess that's another lesson, embrace the awkward. I was not expecting to get his take on the criminal case. But the second I walked through the door, first words out of his mouth, "Your dad should never have taken that plea. What a mistake." According to the judge, my dad had a hand to play. A first-time arrest, a middle-aged shopkeeper family man, no priors. Didn't know the co-defendants, but he had poor guidance. What he could have done, this judge told me, was just threaten the prosecution with a trial. And from the judge's vantage point, the prosecution would not have wanted to bother.
If you're the Attorney General, they were never looking for your father. They were finding who these people were doing the drugs. That's the evil there that they're against. My sense was that your dad had no idea where the money came from, nor did they think that they want to lose the business. So I think they would be between a rock and a hard place.
A personal lesson that deeply chases me throughout my life after that interaction with the judge is, Arthi, pay attention to when fear is at the head of your table. And when fear is at the head of your table, do not make any important decisions, because fear will skew your judgments, often make you underestimate yourself, and take far less than you deserve. Huge lesson there. I never told my father about meeting with his judge. I thought it would hurt him too much. But after my father passed away and I was grieving, the judge's words strangely empowered me. I was pregnant with a story that needed to be birthed. I literally felt I could not move on with my life until this thing comes out of me. Many of you in this room have that feeling. There is something that you are birthing and you need to do it. It's the creative spirit. But my family story for so long had not been our story. It was told by others, by courts or ICE or newspapers. We were illegal or low-skilled or criminal aliens. But now, with this trusted authority figure saying it himself, I finally had the cover I needed to tell our version of the truth. I wrote up my meeting with this judge. I gave it to a literary agent. And he shared this chapter with publishers, the largest publishers on earth, and they ended up bidding for this book in a competitive auction. So I had the backing of a trusted publication and the words of this person with privilege to reshape my family's story. I had a mountain of support behind me to finally tell it like it was from our perspective. And I had finally the chance to give my father the eulogy I felt he deserved. And that, my friends, is true power. I often get to ask people questions, but this is not the venue where we can do that. But in lieu of an interaction with each other, we're going to be able to now meet the extraordinary Chrissy Teigen. A quick intro about Chrissy Teigen. I have this, by the way, on my phone. I'm not looking at emails. I'm just taking out my notes about her. Like, Arthi, are you checking your email on stage? No, not at all. Chrissy Teigen is a model, a TV host, a prolific blogger turned best-selling author of the book Cravings, Recipes for All the Food You Want to Eat, and founder of the company Cravings. And today we happen to be twinning color-wise. Chrissy, come on out. Woo! Yeah, Chrissy! Hello! Hi! Thank you so much for having me.
Sorry. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, where are we gonna
Hi.
You're on the couch.
Yes, I am.
You can lay out if you want.
Yes, sounds great. Hi, everybody. This is such a great turnout. I'm so excited.
Of course. Well, everyone here is excited to talk with you.
Yes, I got to walk the floor yesterday. I was very, God, it's so cool. I just love it every single year. I've even come before when we didn't have our own brand here, so I just love it. I love it.
Well, you're why I showed up.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me start with this, okay? You describe Craving, your company, as a place where, quote, my wildest dreams can come true. Your life already looks pretty wild to me.
Yeah.
Does it get wilder?
It is 100% wild, absolutely. I have 4 children. I have 2 2-year-olds that are 5 months apart. I know the math doesn't math there, but I carried one and one was in a surrogate. And then I have a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, obviously a husband. We have nannies. Our house is very chaotic, very fun. But the one constant in our home, you know, since Luna, who was our first child, is that we always love coming together around the kitchen. The whole center of our universe is the kitchen. The living room, the little family room we have right next to the kitchen is really right next to it. Despite having a pretty big house, everybody is really in this, I will say, 10-foot space in our house all the time. And it brings me such joy.
I love that.
Yeah.
The epicenter
Yes,
where all the energy
it's the
is.
heartbeat. It really is. And my kids are so comfortable in the kitchen. I give them knives at a very young age. I watch them closely. But I've always, you know, I was kind of a feral kid. I was always out and about in walking trails. I grew up in Snohomish, Washington. It's about 45 minutes north of Seattle. And I wanted them to have a childhood where they could, you know, be very hands-on and a part of everything. And I think that's why I like cooking so much, is because while we are like kind of indoor cats now, it is our space where they get to like kind of act out and try things and be a little crazy.
I love that. I'm going to get parenting tips for you. My
Yeah.
child turns 3 this month.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
amazing. Such a fun age too.
Oh my God. Yeah. Talk about feral.
Yeah, I know.
Tell me a bit about this journey through the lens of being a female founder. Is it relevant?
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys. I actually feel kind of silly being up here because I know that I am surrounded by women that really know what they're doing. I think with me, the most challenging part has been that I didn't go to school for this. I don't have a business degree. I just had a passion and a love, and everything I do, I learn by day, and I learn more obviously from the mistakes than I do the wins. And so we kind of just have created this world where I surround myself with really incredible women. My team at Cravings is chock full of women that I look up to, I admire, and we all bounce ideas off each other. We all feel so open to learn from each other. I think that's gone well for every aspect of my life. One thing people always tell John and I is that they loved working with us, but they really loved working with our teams. So if there's one thing that I've done really, really correctly in business, it's surrounding myself with really good people that I want to see every day, that I get excited to get text messages from, that cheer everybody on, that are patient with people, they offer people a lot of grace, and I feel like being a woman, that's where we shine, is we're able to kind of really navigate that world where we know that there is so much on our plates all the time, and we genuinely care about how each other are doing outside of the company and inside of the company. But I think a big challenge of mine has just been insecurity in this world, because I have no background in it, and we've had men come into the company before, and I look to them as being the brains of the operation, because that's how they kind of act, right? They come in and they act like,
let me do this math
for
you.
Exactly, and the confidence, and then you're drawn to the confidence, right? Because you're like, oh, they must know what they're doing, and they've done X, Y, Z before, and so I took that and I was like, okay, they really know what they're doing. But then you realize, like, oh, they're here because of me, though. So there must be something about me that sells this and drives this product too. And that only comes from time and mistakes over and over and over again.
But it's so interesting what you're saying. It's like literally you're reading my mind as you're talking, because something I've noticed in interviewing different leaders, there's almost this kind of like predictable thing that happens, which is that the masculine leadership conversation is, let me tell you what I did right. Are you taking notes? And then the feminine leadership conversation is, I've made so many mistakes. I wish I could learn better, and I'm trying so hard to learn. And so let me just ask you this, you're a badass. Give me an example of something you just got right. You're like, oh yeah, I did that.
Oh my gosh, well, our brand new rebrand, honestly, we are so proud of it. And this came from a world where I was so scared to enter this grocery world. I wanted to look exactly like what was already out, because I was like, well, they've been doing it for 30 years, so there must, like, we can't afford to have these things focus grouped or tested, so why don't we just do what they did? And we didn't want to stand out. And then it went against everything that Craving stands for. We're meant to stand out and be bold and be different and be like unapologetically delicious and decadent. And we were hiding for a little bit. So like, I do feel like this rebrand is like us saying that we have confidence in this space, and it's crazy to say that, like it even makes my bones hurt when I say it, but like we belong here, and we feel so proud of ourselves that we're willing to be bold, be colorful, be crazy, and stand out. But yeah, that took many years.
Oh, hats off to have the confidence to be contrarian.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, and to still know that these aisles are kind of archaic in a way, right? Like you go through and you're nostalgic because you see these old boxes and things, but also there's room to change too. So encouraging people to have fun in the kitchen has always been my #1 goal, and we weren't really reflecting that in the packaging before, and then now I feel like it's reflective and it all tells the same wonderful story, and I'm so proud of it and so excited about it, and it's just been really great.
Follow-up question. I recently interviewed the director of the Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix. And he had pointed out and shown in her own words in this documentary that when male leaders of magazines and publications said, oh, you're like a home person or a food person, she's like, no, I'm a life person. My business touches all of life. Don't say it's just food. What is your true vision for what you're doing that you're afraid to admit is your true vision?
Oh gosh. My true vision, it's so interesting because I consider myself a very crafty person too. Like I share that I'm like constantly crafting. I love being a mother of 4. Like that to me is like so much of my identity, and I am proud of it and I love it. I will say I don't want to touch on all aspects of people's lives, because my brain can't handle that. My brain right now can handle my family, my kids, the things I get to do with them, and I basically use the exact same things that I share online with food and with crafting. I'm doing that because we genuinely have to do that with the kids anyway.
I love it.
Like it's not something that like we're just getting together to do this for the camera. Like if Luna has Girl Scouts, we need to plan this. Like we're going camping. I'm in charge of all the crafts tomorrow. And I just realized it's tomorrow. Oh my God. And yeah, so for me, my focus is so heavily on kid stuff. But I love having our world so intertwined with food and children and getting to be in the kitchen together as a family. I don't need to be Martha. Like Martha is Martha.
You don't need to be that.
I'm exhausted by the mere thought of it.
Amen. And I want to then reflect back to you how extraordinary it is for a woman to not hide what motherhood is and looks like, and to allow it to be a part of your public identity in a way that's also serious business. I mean, like, I wish that more and more of us could do that, because my sense is that the world and markets will become a better place when we're not hiding that fact of ourselves. You are a genius at social media.
Oh, God.
I follow you.
Yeah.
I have followed
With some hits and misses.
Well, sure. And I guess hits and misses, yes. And like you can talk about the misses. I will tell you that for this group of mostly women in the audience, can you share a tip or two about how to present yourself on social, how to interact in a space that for so many people feels incredibly artificial and deflating?
Yeah, it's hard. My relationship with social media has, I moved a lot growing up. I lived in Washington, I lived in Idaho Falls, Idaho, I lived in Vancouver, Cerritos, just around the corner here, Oahu, like truly was moving around a lot because of my dad's job. He was an electrician and took on like different big projects in different cities. And so for me, the only connection that I had with people that was stable was the internet and message boards and chat rooms. And so growing up, I genuinely felt like such a connection to these people that was felt very real for me. Remember webcams and stuff? Like everyone's like, of course, like doing FaceTiming with people, but we had like a webcam on top of our camera, and I stayed connected with people all the time, the same people, despite where I was going in the world. And I so that's why social media has always been so ingrained in me and so a part of my life, is because it reminds me of those times where I might have felt a little lost, or that, you know, I moved my senior year of high school, which if you remember high school, that was a nightmare. It was hell. It was really, really hard. That you felt like that was the end of your world. Like, these people are supposed to be my friends forever, and I'm moving the senior year. Oh, it was crazy. But I always felt like, and that's kind of where the blog came from, is because I realized that I could have this little WordPress blog, a food blog, and stay connected with people through there, through the comment section in there. And then I think now it's just evolved into, I really like Cravings as a brand having a face behind it that people know they can go to and talk to. I love so many different brands that are on this floor today. And I don't know who's connected. I don't know who's a part of it. Like, which also comes with the downside, because they know who to contact when they're mad too. Like with Amy's, I'm like, who's Amy? If I were mad about something, I don't know who that is. But it's always interesting to me that we were able to have a presence online despite just being a brand, because like those aren't typically like fun things to follow. And so we really created this wonderful community where people felt like they can ask questions, make mistakes, know that they can give us feedback and we're willing to take it. And they could do the same thing on that Cravings account as they could do to my Chrissy Teigen account. And so I've just always loved and appreciated that world of connection and connectivity where no matter where I am, and no matter where I've moved from, I always felt like I had a home and was stable with these people online. And I know that's like kind of crazy talk still, but you know, when I like pull back from that world of being online, like it takes a lot out of me, because I miss it. I miss it so much. I miss the people on it. Like, I have people that I consider very good friends on there that that when you don't speak to, it's like a death or something. So when it's almost, you can almost like, you can see so much of like how I'm feeling as a person in what's shown online. If I'm pulling back, it means something. It means something if I'm posting a lot. It's just like to me, it's like a very natural part of my world, and has been for so long now. Yeah, it's fascinating and troubling and
I guess troubling and instructive, the both, right? It's got upsides and downsides.
Yes,
to
it really does.
Your sense of what reality is and where it exists.
Yes.
Is either ahead of or different
yes.
from.
But I'm also skewed because you know, people will talk and they'll be like, you know, there's like a lot of haters online and bots and this, that. But since I typically have had many years of like great experiences, I really do see a lot of good all the time. What it's done for me has been incredible. The people I've gotten to meet, the people that come up to me in a Shake Shack to share their story, whether it's fertility or you know, something that they've gone through with, whether it was alcoholism, infertility. I mean, I get every kind of comment thrown at me when I am just out and about at the grocery store or at Shake Shack or something. And there is nothing quite like getting to experience that connection in person with somebody that only came because of that online world.
Final question for you, Chrissy.
Yes, I know I'm very wordy. I'm
no,
sorry. I told her she'd get one question.
I don't think you're wordy.
Okay.
I feel like you're keeping it tight. But in a very tight way, tell me. Through the various acts that you've had like a really extraordinary journey. What's something you've learned about how power works that you didn't know earlier on in your career?
Oh, goodness. Oh, that is such a good question. I would say that my personal power exists in confidence. And that was something that I gained so much of being surrounded by John, who actually keeps a really incredible group of women around him. He has since the very beginning. His manager is a woman that he went to college with. They were in a cappella together. She's seen him grow. She's seen him be in this world for such a long time. Power doesn't come from stature or the the loudness of your voice is what I've learned a lot too. It comes in the quiet moments, the thoughtful moments. It comes from fucking up, and you would think that power comes from like being perfect and being great and wonderful and doing everything right. And it's even hard to say now that I feel 1,000 times more powerful today than I did 2-3 years ago. When I think of like how much that confidence can grow now into 2 years from now, it seems like, oh my God, can it get more than this? Can it be better than this? I don't know, I feel really good about right now. But I just want every time I talk about it, I'm like, power doesn't come from being a loud man, basically, is what I want to say. I think we've all been in a room with somebody that thought that their voice, just by raising it, was a form of being the smartest in the room. And now I think we all know a little bit better than that.
Thank you so much, Chrissy Teigen.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you so much. Like, what did I bring out here? Thank you.
Can I take a selfie with you up
Yeah,
here?
sure.
This is such an exciting moment for me, my gosh.
Good lighting.
Yeah.
I look naked.
You do. And I look overly clothed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. And actually, a picture of this beautiful audience. Aw, you're the best. Do I think
That's come back up in a moment. Yeah. Gosh, I want some pictures too. We have a really special treat right now. So this is a moment I think we could all use. And Amy Ippoliti, who is a champion of organic, international yoga teacher, and a wellness expert, has experience for us. So I invite you to stay and grand for a few minutes. Amy, can you come up? Yeah.
Hello, Expo. How's everyone doing? Such empowering stories. You know, I think about, as a yoga teacher, how empowering the breath can be. Because the breath is the one function in the body that is both involuntary but also voluntary. And it's the thread that connects us to source energy, but also very much into the world itself, right? It's in our bodies, but it's all around us. It's in our bodies, but it's in each of us as a collective. And so it's a way for us to connect not only to each other, but to something bigger than just ourselves. And so when I'm feeling small, because I am kind of short, I don't know if you noticed that, like I'm definitely not as tall as these ladies. I often get a little bit of a small lady complex, and it's hard for me to take up space sometimes and be big, and to remember my greatness, to remember what my gifts are. But when I tap into the breath, and I'm going to teach you how to do this as well, when I tap into the breath, I remember that the divine, or source, or whatever you want to call it, wants me to be here. Because why else would I be breathing if I wasn't meant to be here and part of this conversation? Right? And so what I do is I realize the miracle of what it took for each and every one of you to be in this body at this time in this life. It was a miracle, like the sperm made it. It swam and made it all the way up there, and you made the cut. It's a miracle that we're all here, right? And so when we remember that miracle, all we need to do is tap into the breath, because that's the reminder that you made the cut. When we're born, do you know what the first breath is? Is it an inhale or is it an exhale? The baby. It's an inhale, and that's why it's so, the baby cries, right? Because that breath is like hot fire going down the windpipe. What do you think is exhaling at that moment? God, source, the goddess, is exhaling life into that baby who is inhaling you, right? And at death, do we know what the last breath is? Is it an inhale or an exhale? 50-50 chance. It's an exhale. Who's been with someone who's passed away and you caught them on their last breath? It's an exhale. It's a huh, right? Who's inhaling in that moment? The divine source is inhaling that breath back, right? Every moment in between your birth and your death is an exchange with the divine, an exchange with source. When you get that, you cannot forget your worthiness to be here, to share your gifts with the world. And when you recognize that women around you are also breathing and that the divine wants them to be here as well, right? That we have each other's back. So put your feet on the floor if they're not already. They probably are. I'm probably the only one that sits cross-legged in a chair with her feet off the ground. But put them on the ground somewhere you can feel, really feel grounded in this moment. Sit up tall. Take your shoulders up and back. I'm not going to say down. You know why? Because you want to take up space. This whole down thing, this is not, no. Up and back, okay? When you do that, you've now prepared your body as a vessel to receive the most breath you possibly can, right? So you can relax your arms, tune into your breath right now, and notice that the breath is coming in without you doing anything. That's the involuntary part, right? She wants to breathe you, the goddess. When you exhale, the body does what it's going to do. It just draws the breath out, no problem. Okay, close the eyes now. Tune to that inhalation and that exhalation. And rather than being the breather, the person that's breathing, the person that's inhaling, the woman that is exhaling, right? Notice what's already happening. That's meditation. Another way to participate is to think of the breath as a teacher, to think of every time you inhale of opening your body and lifting the shoulders up and back each time you inhale. And when you exhale, gently toning the abdomen to allow the breath to go back out. So you're a participant, you're not the doer. Although you can do, simply be and watch what's already there. Every inhale, continue to take up space in your torso. And with every exhale, gently tone your lower abdomen to let the breath come out. If you practice yoga already and you know Ujjayi breath, triumphant, uplifting breath, you can even do Ujjayi here. It has an audible sound like ocean waves. But with every inhalation, just watch what your body does, how it opens to receive the breath. And with every exhale, how it gently tones and closes. And as you continue just to watch the breath flowing in and out, keep taking up space in your body. And notice how the breath wants to flow in, and take that as your sign that you're worthy to be here, to be in this space. Lastly, as you continue to watch the inhalation and the exhalation, feel our ancestry of mothers that are behind us, the women who came before you, who are holding you. Feel them in the back body. You might feel the back of your chair, or just even an aura behind you of those powerful women holding you up. And all the sacrifices they made to make your life possible, and to make your life full of dreams that come true. Lastly, feel the collective energy of the women around you. Allow your heart to open, to receive, to listen, and also to offer. Thank you so much. And now I have some other fantastic women friends that are about to join us for a very exciting panel, so enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm going to have one of these too. Okay, we're back. Thank you. Okay. Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so excited for you to meet all these wonderful women I've had a chance to get to know
It's cushy.
through the course of this week.
Just grab my water.
And I want to start, we're trying something here, which is we thought, oh, it's kind of like The View.
Here we go.
But what we want to start is a conversation that will then turn to you. So our table then becomes your table. And I want to start by recognizing this week, I think this has happened to a few of you in the past. I know it just happened to me, where I was at an event earlier this week where I was the last of, there were 6 men speaking, and then I was the last one, and they were all great speakers, and we were going a little long, and I was starting to feel really insignificant, unworthy, like, oh my gosh, I've got to just rush this. I don't feel right. People don't want to stay any longer. I don't know if I have anything to say. And another woman came up to me and said, Laura, take the mic and hold the mic, and we want to hear from you. And it just meant so much to have that moment. And I feel like this is my moment to just be able to listen and listen to you all. And thank you, because all of you do such a wonderful job of that with other women, of taking the mic, but to listen and honor those that are, and see others with that mic. So I want to start, Arthi, you talk a lot about power and the art of power in your podcast, and can you talk a little bit about what you've learned about power that you didn't know before?
Maybe the most nuanced thing I can share is stop waiting for heroes, but look around for who can amplify what you want to do. Who is the person, what are the institutions with more privilege, with resources, that may have sway that you simply don't, because voice is one tool, it's certainly not the only tool. And I have learned that I've been able to go deeper and deeper into truth, into saying things that are inconvenient, into being contrarian in a way that is fact-based and, not seeking to get a rise out of people, but pointing out when the emperor has no clothes. I'm empowered to do that, especially when I don't feel like I'm riding solo. And so what I have learned is don't wait for heroes, but recruit supporters.
Love that. Yeah.
Thank you, Arthi. Can I ask us to move the slide forward, because I don't have a clicker and I want you to see who all these amazing women are. And since you met Arthi, I'm going to move on and can each of you share your name and what you do.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Angie. I work for Red's All Natural, and I also co-lead a peer mentoring circle program in partnership with One Step Closer for women just like you who are leaders in this space looking for connectivity and community.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Vesho, and I lead what we call center store sourcing and product development at Whole Foods. So that means that the local and emerging brand foragers, the category merchants or buyers, and then anything in private label from research and development to sourcing to commercialization, that all sits as a part of my team. And then I also serve as the chair for our Whole Foods Market Foundation, and so through all of those avenues, I have the opportunity to support a lot of really incredible women, whether it's small entrepreneurs in Africa that are just getting started through our work of Whole Planet, or working with many of you in this room to help create a platform to bring your missions to life.
I'm Heather Granato, and this is my 30th Expo West.
Wow.
Because you had to take those 2 out from the pandemic. And I actually worked with this show and on this show for many, many years. I'm currently doing business consulting, but I'm really excited about the nonprofit I helped found 3 years ago called Women in Nutraceuticals. That's really founded around how do we help women be empowered to be their professional and personal best selves, and looking at how do we have more women in leadership, funding for women-led businesses, and women in science and like research in female populations. So excited to talk about that aspect.
Hi everybody, Sherry Fry with Nielsen IQ, and I lead our total wellness team at NIQ, which is really how consumers are looking at their own personal health and wellness, but also the health of the planet. And the one where my heart really is very passionate, and that is social responsibility. And it's everything from how we look at equity across diverse populations, but also really how we uplift women as well. So very excited to be part of this panel. I will say I came into Expo, I think with a feeling of yearning, and I feel very much that I got the connections that I was looking for, and very deep grounding in many beautiful folks on this panel, and many of you, and I feel like I'm hearing that from so many folks as well, that we all kind of came in looking for this. So,
love it. I'm Kim Perel. I'm a 9-times founder, a best-selling author, an investor in over 100 companies, and I'm the co-founder of a company called Junie Tea. And I'm a huge advocate for women in business, having been in tech for 20 years and now moving into the beverage category. So tech to tea, but I feel that it's important to empower women across all categories, and I'm really just thrilled to be here with all of you.
That's awesome.
Thank you all. Angie, you and I've had the privilege, and I've been able to see you in action, facilitating and leading the women's circles with OSC. And you really do see others and also create like a space and a vulnerability. What have you learned through your amazing career about power that you didn't know before?
Yeah. Well, I believe so much of what you shared this morning is so true. I think when you're younger, particularly when you're a woman, you are waiting for somebody to give you power. And I think over time, what you realize is you already have agency. And the way you claim your agency is through your voice. But really the way I feel like women have always come together to create power is when we join together in community and move forward together. That is how social change has always happened. No matter what you learn in school or not, that is true. And so now more than ever, for so many reasons, I feel like this is the time for women to continue to come together, to connect, to help each other, and to continue to move society forward in a way that we would like to move it forward. And that is a time for us to claim that and for that to happen. And that's why this event, I always love a West. I was looking extra forward to West this year for this event, and to see so many women here today, and to have these connections to come together, because the more women can connect, the more the power dynamics shift, the more society evolves, and it will be a better place. And so this all happens when we come together in community.
I so appreciate that. This is, I was contemplating with some folks that there's a lot of broken relationships right now way out there. And this is where I think women have real superpowers, is rebuilding and connecting and letting that ripple out. So I think that's what I see as a superpower in all of you, but I'm curious, Elisa, what would you say is the part of power that you've learned that you didn't know before?
Yeah, I fully agree with the points on the importance of community and our collective power. One thing I've been thinking about a lot recently that's been a little bit of an underpinning or a theme so far in our conversations today is how often we as women give our power away. And what I mean by that is I so often waste so much energy worrying about what other people think. Like, did I say that right? Did it resonate? Am I doing a good job? Am I a good mom? Am I a good enough friend? And every time I do that, I'm giving away my own power and giving my power to someone else. And so in the last few months, I've been very actively caring less. And it's because I care so deeply about how I want my power and energy to radiate in the world that I need to care less what other people think and set that aside. So that for me has been a really big learning recently. And then the other thing I've been thinking a lot about is the ripples that we create in the world, some of which we see and some of which we may never see. You know, I think about, as consumers, when we buy a product, we may never see the female farmer all the way at the end of that supply chain. But that is a ripple we create. And so this idea of being really conscious in how we consume products and what we support and how that aligns with our values, or even as simple as smiling at someone on the street and paying attention when you ask them how they are, like giving them the full presence to pay attention to their answer, there is power in all of that. And all of that can change the course of people's days and their lives. So I think for me, like, it's really just recognizing the power that I have in terms of how I show up and the energy that I radiate into the world. In addition to community and being surrounded by really amazing people.
Love it.
Yeah. That's like real power, that ability to shift energy through a moment, a conscious moment with other people. And Heather, you have been so profoundly thoughtful and conscious, I think, of this industry and also women. What have you found about power and learned about that you didn't know before?
It's been like a big transition. I think we all had this transition through COVID where we suddenly understood how very interconnected we are in a very deep and meaningful way. And the power of human connection, reaching out to people, you know, male or female, wherever you are in the world, you know, what's your background? All that doesn't matter when you think about how can I help others? I love this idea of servant leadership and figuring out how can I serve you? What's the best thing I could do? Because that's manifesting for everyone the positive change that I want to see. So if I can ever help anyone in this room or anyone on this stage or anyone here, I want to do that because I have the power of connection. And when we exert that powerful connection, we create positive change for everyone else. And that's the power that I have by giving it away. It comes back.
And what reciprocity and generosity. Sherry, my climate sister, hello. Someone who just sees and is so generous with everyone, especially women. What have you learned about power?
You know, a couple of things. I actually will kind of carry on. I think, you know, through the years I've had different business coaches and really learned through my language how I give away my power, how I say things like, I think, right? I don't need to add the, you know, that. Where, you know, we, and myself, you know, included here, right, we end our sentences, we kind of come up with a question. And so even just the power of how we talk affirmatively and confidently and really listening to the words that we're using. I would also say, you know, one of the big things I've learned about power, you know, in the last few years in particular is anger is power. And, you know, oftentimes as women, we don't want to touch that. But really being able to feel in and touch what frustrates us, what angers us, and to be able to harness that, that's power. And I think that's such a beautiful opportunity for us as women to kind of see that, you know, those two really do go together.
Absolutely, that is I think something we're a little bit fearful of letting out, but there is truly times where it's called for. Kim, in my brief exchange and in looking at you, I was just struck by how, wow, this woman is luminous and powerful, and part of your power I was seeing was you just drew me out and asked me questions, but there was power in that I just so appreciated. Talk to us about what you've learned about power.
I think for me, just knowing it's not about position. You know, and early in my career, I thought power was a position, but what I learned over time is about influence and impact. And the more we pool our power, especially as women, the more successful we'll be. So just having grown up in a very male-dominated industry, it's knowing that, as you guys said, you are enough, right? And just knowing and having that confidence in yourself, and you know, the doubters will be the doubters.
That's powerful. There's something that I find very intimidating, and that is the act of being vulnerable, and I think a lot of us do. And I just want to hear from, let's have a conversation about that. Well, how do we use vulnerability as power and as a connective force? Where have you found that to work?
I would love to jump in on that one. I used to think that vulnerability was something that I had to hide. Like I needed to be so polished and so pulled together. And so I used to think that vulnerability was almost a liability. And what I've come to realize over the last number of years is that it's actually a superpower. And I think it's one of my superpowers. I'd be curious if my team agrees. But when I show up in the full humanity of who I am, and I demonstrate vulnerability, I believe that that creates psychological safety for other people to do the same, that they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like they can be authentic. And there is power in that too, and that you can be both. You can be, you know, an amazing leader and a vulnerable human. Both of those things can be true. So I really think about it as a superpower now.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to follow up on that actually. Several years ago, we did an executive coaching with our team at Supply Side. And the coaching that I received was very much, here's Brené Brown. We'd love to have you read this. We think this is where you struggle. I was like, what do you mean? Everything is perfect all the time. I think we all struggle with, we want to be seen as perfect. We want to have this control. And the more I read and the more I understood being vulnerable, letting people see the personal aspect, and helping them engage in that way, vulnerability made me a much stronger manager. It made me a better friend. It makes me a better leader. It helps me embrace my own power because I can be fully present in who I am.
Yeah, I think I can add on that because I also invest in a lot of companies and I manage a lot of teams, but vulnerability is a permission slip. I'm actually writing a book on mistakes to share all the mistakes I've made because people look now and they're like, oh, you've done all this, but like I've made so many mistakes and mistakes need a makeover and sharing them needs a makeover and people need to share all the challenges and setbacks so that you have a permission for other people to do it. Yeah. And like, I think it's really important because if I share all the struggles I have, that gives you permission to share your struggles too.
I love that.
That is awesome. You just made me think of, there's something called the growth mindset, and one of my 3 children apparently wasn't engaging in it with my, according to her teacher. And so we came up with this, like, every time you catch yourself in a mistake, you get a quarter if you talk to me about it.
I love that.
But I think there's something there, and it's also developmental. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share their mistakes?
I'll just, well, we all have them, that's for sure.
For it,
That's
I've got a quarter.
Sure. I think one of the themes that comes out here that I always think about, that like a truly confident person is really much more focused on connection than control. And women in particular, I think, are naturally gifted at connecting. And you cannot really connect unless you're vulnerable, right? Because it has to come through trust, and trust comes through vulnerability. And this shift for us that I believe is so important for where we are in society, but also for women to really have the impact that we truly can have, is that if connection is more important than control, then living your life with love or leading with love versus fear is a paradigm shift. And when you do that, everything changes. You're a better human, you're a better parent, you're a better spouse, but you're also a fundamentally better leader. People resonate with that energy in a very different way. That creates momentum in your organizations. We are all here because we're here to change the food industry and really fundamentally society, right? Because food is so integral to what we do. And so I think the more we can focus on connectivity and the less we focus on control, which is a very male-oriented way of engaging with others, the better we'll all be. And it turns out women are amazing at that. And that's what, in a little bit, we'll do together, is be together in connectivity and community, and you'll just see the ripple effect of that happen in the room. Yeah.
Sherry, what about you?
Well, I thought I would share a story. So last week, actually, someone reached out to me that I worked with 10 years ago, and she said, I just want to tell you, you said something to the team. I was running a business, and she said, 10 years ago you said how, I don't have children, and she said, you told us all how uncomfortable sometimes it is when you go into business meetings and you're meeting people, and you the first thing that people can connect on is, do you have children? And how sometimes it just makes you feel so vulnerable and so out of place. And she said, for 10 years, that has stuck with me about, that I'm not the only one. She doesn't have children as well. But also just knowing that there's like that willingness to be vulnerable. And I think, wow, that's something I shared 10 years ago, but this opportunity to kind of say the things where we're uncomfortable, and also let other people know that, and I think too, just even so someone, I feel like also someone in the room might need to hear that today too. And just, it's a way to think about how we make connections too.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. May I be slightly contrarian? I want to preface it with, this feels like church for me. I am getting so much from what you all are saying, and I just feel like I needed a lot more of this at a really pivotal career juncture in my life. So just one thing I would signpost, especially for the younger women in the room, of which there are many, if you are not surrounding yourself with women like this, you need to be surrounding yourself with women like this. They exist. Do it. My contrarian point. Vulnerability is not an equal opportunity act. And sometimes it is actually not safe to be vulnerable. And so I had the experience, I recall, I very briefly in my keynote discussed, I was a community organizer, fighting with alongside immigrants and my father, and then I pivoted 3 years flat to become NPR Silicon Valley correspondent. That did not happen through vulnerability. I frankly shoved into a box my activist identity, and I started to wear a brand new uniform that was more safe for the gatekeepers of my new industry. Journalism a la 2013 was very uncomfortable with people who had my kind of background. Even though so many of the skills I were using were the same skills. Go talk to strangers, be clear about what you want to communicate, do your homework. The skill set being the same did not make it okay for me to have that background, so I kept my background under wraps. I just didn't talk about it. And I think I only finally had the permission to be honest about who I was once I gained the respect of the gatekeepers in their terms.
Sounds fair. Super good.
I really appreciate that. To also know, part of the power is to know when you can be vulnerable and call that. And trust is, I think, a big part of that when you feel like you're in a place of trust. Thank you. Yeah. And please always be contrarian. That's powerful.
You and my family.
Kim, I've noticed you have an amazing story, and all of you have amazing stories. And there's that's something I think that is fascinating. We hear a lot more about is story. And as a public figure, how have you been able to take control of your story? I think there's, I feel, and I think a lot of women in general pain when we lose control of our story or it's told for us. But tell me about how you've been able to give voice to your story.
I mean, I write about it. My mom's like, please stop writing about our growing up and how, her childhood. She's like, please, my brother or sister, I'm like, please stop. I mean, for me, it is vulnerability. It's sharing my story so others can see that I started at my kitchen table and with nothing. And you can start with nothing and build an incredibly big company in any category. And what's so inspiring is seeing all these amazing companies that are being built here right now. Like, this is the next generation. I feel so excited about it, to be walking those floors thinking these are going to be incredibly big companies. And I think from sharing my story and people being able to see, you started at your kitchen table and eventually grew to $1 billion. Like, I could do that too. And so just sharing that.
That is powerful. I want to now shift it to the room and ask Betsy, are you here? Come on up. And if we could, I don't have a clicker, if we can click to the next one. Thank you. Yes, they were staying, but yes. Betsy and Angie, as I shared, as well as Catherine Flouten, and is anyone else here, are really leading these women's circles at OSC, and we want you to have a little experience. This is a lot what it's like in circle, and we're going to stay and continue to answer the questions together, but without the mic that you're leading us in, Betsy. But before we do that, I want you to know this QR code is here, and there are opportunities if you want to apply to be a part of a circle, which is just a wonderful, amazing experience, especially with the leadership that Betsy and Angie and Catherine bring and provide. But so please connect with us, and if you would like to apply, because it's available. And can you give us a little bit more on that, Betsy, and the experience?
Yeah, so as Angie was saying, the power of connection and surrounding yourself with amazing women creates an energy in and of itself. Our women's circles get together monthly, virtually, for about an hour and a half. And we either bring in speakers who inspire us to think differently, think about our lives, our money, our bodies, our leadership, our careers. And then we spend time together sharing what's going on in our lives, solving problems, putting challenges on the table, and coming up with solutions together. It's an incredibly energizing, supportive environment where people make life changes throughout the year. Everyone's invited to apply. The QR code is here. But what we wanted to do today was to give everyone the experience of that connection that we were talking about and the energy that it gives us just by connecting as women. These circles are magic, and the conversation becomes magic if you're authentic, if you're willing to put yourself out there, willing to give and receive, treating each other with respect, and then just leaning into how can I connect with just one person around the table. So I encourage you guys, if there's not a lot of people at your table, to move around and to join some others in a conversation. Simple discussion questions. Just go around the table. We're going to share your name, where you work, and one thing that you'd like help from a circle or a network. What is something that you are looking to tap into or could ask someone else to help you with? And then if you get through that, you could take away and start talking about some themes that resonated with you that you're going to walk away with today. We'll do this for about 8 minutes. 8 minutes? Cool, that'll be just enough time. And then we'll wrap up. So enjoy the conversation.
Do we have like so nice?
Okay. Did Angie have to leave?
my family every month. I found a girl my parents love. She'll come and stay the night, and I think I might have it all. And I thank God every day for the girl he sent my way. But I know the things he gives me, he can take away. And I hold you every night. That's
Believe it or not, 8 minutes is up. If you just took a moment and heard the energy, and the room feels like it's completely full with the conversations that we're having. So sorry to interrupt it. We're going to just wrap up here with a few comments from Laura. Are you going to wrap it up?
If anyone would like to share anything that you took away from conversations we've been having up here. And, or let's start with anyone in the room want to share any shift in your perspective from a conversation that you've had? Anyone want to-
Hello, my name is Haley. Our group over here is some fantastic women, and one of the things that resonated with me is how during your questioning, Arthi, to Chrissy, she was so raw in her answering, and you could see her processing the question and avoiding the question because she was trying to think through it and saying some irrelevant things, but you could tell that she was trying to think through and process it, and it was very raw and real. And I think with celebrities like her, 41 million Instagram followers, she has a script. And it was really cool seeing her with, her obvious imposter syndrome that we all have, walking through that. So one of the girls at our table said that, and it was so true, and it's nice to see.
Yay. Thank you.
We have time for one more reflection. I'm going to turn it over to anyone here. Want to reflect on anything from our conversations?
I think we were just talking about mentorship and how valuable it is in any industry, in any category. And if you, at any age, and so I started in CPG 2 years ago, and I have this incredible mentor. And it's been a game change for the business. So finding someone that's been 1 year, they don't have to be 20 years ahead. He happens to have 30 years, so that's like, he's been at Expo with you for 30 years now. But having someone like that and then being that for someone else is a game changer in any facet of life.
Mm-hmm. That is the perfect note. Thank you so much to wrap up with. Oh my gosh, I couldn't have like planned that better, because I think that's a lot of what maybe we're yearning for here is connection and reciprocity. And someone shared a term with me that struck, which is called mentorship, which is about that the mentee and the mentor get just as much. Sometimes the mentor gets more out of the process. And so if you're wanting to be a mentor or a mentee, which I encourage is always an amazing experience, consider yourself, if you are the mentee, as actually giving that mentor a privilege when you come into the request, because that is absolutely the case. And I want to just thank all of you for sticking with us. This is a first experience, the summit, and we're learning, and it's been incredible. And I feel just so fortunate to have been able to learn from all of you today and grow and laugh too. So thank you all.
Thank you.